I'm talking about migrating from classroom to online training and also discussing the opportunities as well as the challenges. I'll be using a case study from Cisco Systems where we have been working with Cisco for 10 years. We've trained about 6,000 people in the classroom on our most popular program, which is the Working Smart with Outlook program. And we've now moved that training globally online using instructor-led delivery. The situation was very much that we were travelling all over the world. This training took place in 23 cities across 13 countries, and we needed to get to all the delegates as well as the delegates themselves, of course, having to get to a particular place at a particular time. So very much the situation was that we spent a lot of time travelling and being in airports as well as being in training rooms all over the world. The catalyst for change, which brought about this training going online, I think first of all was the emergence of new technologies. Certainly working with Cisco, of course they had their WebEx platform which they were very keen to use, and this technology became available for the first time. And also the global recession towards the end of 2008 certainly was a catalyst for change as well. And the challenge for us was to reduce the cost of this training to our client, but at the same time not impacting upon the effectiveness of what was a very successful classroom training. The situation today is that we are able to train around the globe. We've increased our geographical reach, so from 13 countries to 36 and over 70 cities, including 26 locations in the US alone. And we're doing all of this right from our desktops here in our offices in the UK. There were some real opportunities when we were asked to look at moving this training online, and the first one was that we could see a way to dramatically reduce the cost of this training for our client, as well as reducing the travel time and the costs associated with that, both for our instructors and for delegates themselves, so that they weren't needing necessarily to fly or travel to training centres. So of course much more eco-friendly. We reduced the carbon footprint of this training by reducing that travel. We also saw that new technologies bring their own benefits, and there's lots of things that you can do online that you couldn't do before. For example, if you were creating an induction program online, you could actually have a personal welcome from, for example, the CEO to each new employee, which of course wouldn't have been possible. You couldn't fly the CEO around the world and take that much of his time previously. We also saw that longer term there could be a reduction in office space requirements, all those training centres and meeting rooms that are quite often not used to full capacity. Perhaps there wouldn't be such a need for that space. We saw an opportunity for less time being lost in the classroom, making the training more time efficient. No time hanging around waiting for people, or people drinking coffee and making small talk. And we also saw an opportunity for accessibility. We run this class now in 3 time zones, an APAC time zone, a Europe time zone and an Americas time zone, which has been very convenient for delegates. We did expect for delegates to log in and attend training in their own time zone, but what's been interesting is that people have chosen sometimes to take these classes outside of their normal working day, so perhaps taking the classes before their normal working day starts or even afterwards. Which has been surprising to me, but very convenient, of course, for delegates. And the geographical reach has been really increased, which of course particularly will benefit dispersed employees. In 2008 we were training in 13 countries and 23 cities, and moving that training online has seen that geographical reach extend to 36 countries, so we've nearly tripled the number of countries that we're training in, and 71 cities. So that's been fantastic. Last week, in fact, we had our first delegate from Venezuela, and they would never before have had access to this training. So that's been one real benefit. So let's look at the challenges that we found. The first challenge was very much that we had to learn new technologies. Next, we had to look at the program design to see whether that would work well online. Then we had to look at our learning resources that supported the training program, and some of those had to be redesigned. And the last challenge that we found, and probably the most important challenge, was that trainers needed to learn new skills in order to be able to effectively deliver training online. So let's look at these in turn. In terms of learning new technologies, of course, we were very fortunate to be working with a real high-tech client in Cisco Systems, but we also had to learn to work with their own platform, which was WebEx Training Center. We took the WebEx University program and we went through the rigorous accreditation process. Cisco actually insists that all of their online trainers are accredited, but there is a lot to learn. You need to learn about multimedia sharing, how to share your PowerPoint presentations, how to share documents, how to stream video, how to make software demonstrations using whiteboards, annotation, understanding sharing privileges, threaded questions and answers, chat, using breakout sessions, using polls, being able to understand attendee feedback, using the attention indicators, people putting their hand up virtually, and using emotional icons. So there was a lot to learn, and it is so essential to properly understand whatever platform you're going to be using and to know how to use all of the functionality. I mean, you would never walk into a classroom without knowing how to turn on the projector, where the light switches were, or without whiteboard pens. So equally, you would never walk into an online classroom without knowing how everything works. So essential, I think, to really understand whatever platform it is that you're intending to use. Next, we came to program design. And you can't really take a class that you're already running in a classroom and hope to run it successfully as a virtual instructor-led training session. I mean, there are lots of considerations that need to be made. First of all, you need to think about the length of your training. In our case, the Working Smart with Outlook program that we were running in the classroom was a one-day program. Now, you can't hope to run a one-day virtual instructor-led training session. So we found the maximum length really for an online session before you need to let people go and have a break is about an hour and a half. So you need to start by deciding whether the material you've got is something that you can shorten. So in essence, you're summarizing the material, or whether it would be better to run a series of virtual instructor-led training sessions. So you'd really be looking at the material you've got and deciding whether you can chunk it into chunks. And that's the approach that we took. We decided to chunk the material, and we actually ended up turning a one-day training program into 4 sessions, each of 1.5 hours duration. It's also a good idea to think about whether you could use a series of different approaches, more of a blended approach as well. Next, you need to think about how you could use the technology to improve on the classroom training program that you already had. So you'll end up really using some of the original material from the classroom sessions, as well as creating some new material to use in the virtual instructor-led training environment. You also need to think about your learning resources, and these might need to change as well. In the classroom, we used to hand out to each delegate a book. This was their learning guide, which accompanied the day's training. But firstly, we found that people who are learning online don't necessarily want a book. Plus, the cost and logistics of shipping these learning guides around the world to more than 70 cities in 36 countries would be very, very hard to manage, as well as being costly. In some cases, of course, registration for the classes is open until almost the last minute, and there have been lots of changes to the delegate list where people have opted for a different session and other people from the waiting list have stepped in to take their place. So it would have been virtually impossible for us to ship learning guides to be in the right places at the right times. So in the case of this Cisco class, we actually rewrote the book, making it much much more compact, and we actually share this file using file transfer during the virtual instructor-led training session, allowing delegates to download and file their own copy. We also coupled this with an online resource centre which we built, where delegates are able to search and find information as they need it. They're also able to use an online forum there to get help and to support each other. And we introduced a virtual instructor-led group coaching session as well. So you will need to think about your learning resources and as to whether they need to be redesigned.